we are seated, we will get a move on once we're seated. Asante Sana word. Asante Sana does mean thank you in Swahili. Another word we like to use around here is twende. Twende does mean let's go. Alrighty, my friends, Jumbo, and welcome aboard. My name all the way up here at the front of your truck is Ella. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I'm going to be your safari guide for today's adventure through the ROBBIE Wildlife Reserve. Hello back there. Now, believe it or not, everybody, this is a very real truck that I am actually driving. We are not on a track, in fact, and I am not an animatronic. So in order to stay nice and safe today, let's make sure to remain seated and keep our hands, arms, feet, and legs inside of our ride vehicle at all times. I do like to ask back there, though, can I get a quick show of hands? Do we have any first-timers riding with us today? Oh, awesome. I see you guys. Wow, that's actually a lot of you guys in the front row, too. Welcome aboard, folks. Excited to have y'all here. It's my hope today that by learning about these incredible creatures that call our reserve home, you'll all be able to return to your own homes after this with a newfound appreciation and respect for some of the animals that live in your neck of the woods as well. We do have the all clear from the warden here, so twende. The first section we're entering up ahead of us is the Ituri rainforest. The animals that live around here are known for their secrecy and camouflage, although already up ahead of us I do see a species of African forest antelope. Specifically, this is a bongo. Sometimes called the ghost of the forest. They can disappear in just the blink of an eye. You can see them at the top of the hill to our left, and to our right you can see that beautiful gleaming beauty over there. That is an okapi. Great view of them over here, actually. The okapi is in fact the only living relative of the giraffe, believe it or not. Take a close look at their broadside. Oh, and that very long tongue, you can see it's just about as long or long enough to clean their eye if they'd like. Actually, it's also long enough to clean their ear, though they don't do that too often. And actually, to our left, is another species of antelope as well, with the lighter colored fur and no horns. Oh, there's actually another one here. These are greater kudu antelopes, some females. See her walking along back there. Back to the okapi. For a long time, they were actually known as the unicorns of Africa, because until 1901, Western science thought the okapi was a complete myth. The descriptions we got of them were so wacky. They lived in such dense jungles in the center of Africa, in the Congo. Westerners had never seen them, so we just figured they must not be real. Thankfully, though, eventually we realized the okapi did in fact exist. A lot of the animals that live here in the forest tend to have darker colored coats with white stripes on their body, helping to break up their silhouette when they're standing among the dappled lighting of the trees. An animal that is the exception to that, though, is the rhinoceros. Africa has two different species of rhino, the black rhino and the white rhino. Go figure, though, they are actually the exact same shade of gray. The way that they got their inaccurate names is actually thought to have come from a mistranslation. I'll tell you more about that here in a moment, because on our left-hand side, these two beautiful birds, one of them resting on the ground there, these are some saddle-billed storks, standing about 5 feet tall with a wingspan as wide as the canopy above our heads. You can see them just on the other side of that log to our left. So the story goes, back to the white rhino's name, is that when Dutch explorers first saw the white rhinoceros, they noticed how wide and square their lips were. So they described them using the Dutch word for wide, which is white. Us English speakers heard them call them the white rhino. We thought they were saying the white rhino. Even though the name is inaccurate, it stuck. And supposedly the black rhino got their name in contrast. Coming down this hill ahead of us, we are just about to start passing by the Safi River. So you can see some great egrets hanging out down here, as well as some pink-backed pelicans who are preening their feathers with those very long beaks of theirs. I do actually see some residents of the river that we do not often see out of the water this time of day. There are a pair of hippos just enjoying the sunshine over here to our left. Very lucky to see these guys out. I was going to say out and about, but they're not really about. They're knocked out at the moment. Just having a little sleep in the sunshine here. Looks like the rest of their herd is actually in the water to our left as well. Just behind that island there. You'll notice hippos have their eyes, ears, and nose all at the tippy top of their skull, making it possible for them to stay nice and alert while keeping submerged. A lot of people don't realize hippos are nocturnal animals, so they do spend a majority of the daylight hours, just like these guys, sleeping at the surface of the water. They even have a reflex that allows them to come up for air without even having to wake up. Then once the sun goes down, that's usually when they'll come up and out of the water to feast on the grasses along the riverbank. Very close view of a black vulture here to our left. Really important members of their ecosystem all over the world, since they are scavengers that act as a cleanup crew. Over to our left, some of the hippo's neighbors, some Nile crocodiles along the riverbank here, folks, as well as in the water. You can see one along that back cliff wall there, able to eat about half of their body weight in one sitting. Believe it or not, though, those crocodilians, as far as reptiles go, are actually very caring parents. When it's time for a mama croc to lay her eggs, she's going to find the perfect place to dig a nest. She will deposit her eggs there and then bury them with rotting vegetation, which actually is what keeps her eggs warm. This truck in front of us here is actually stopped. I'm not super sure why. Looks like we've got some motion up ahead of us. There might be an animal blocking the road. Usually that is what is going on in these parts when we're stopped like this. I'm going to listen into my radio. As I was saying, though, about the crocodile's eggs, so once the mom has buried her eggs, she will actually guard them with her life until her little ones are ready to start hatching. Once they're ready to start, they will actually make a very cute little chirping noise from within the egg, signaling to mom that it's time. When she hears that, mom's going to come running. She will gently dig her babies up and then ever so gently scoop all of those eggs up into her massive jaws and ever so carefully roll them between her teeth, helping her babies to hatch out of the egg. The dad can actually help out with this as well at the same time. Then the parents will make multiple trips down to the river, carrying their babies in their mouth to that river, making multiple trips because they do sometimes have up to about 100 little ones in that clutch. Then they'll let them go in the water, but guard that section of the river to make sure that no predators might threaten their kiddos. We are just about to start entering the savanna up ahead of us, by the way. One of the most iconic plants in this region is this tree to our right. This is the baobab tree. They are sometimes called the tree of life because every single part of them can be used by the people who live in this part of the world to help them survive. And as you can see, they do go about 9 months out of the year with no leaves while they are in their dormant water-saving period. From way up here, I can already see down in the savanna some animals moving along down there to our right next to those trucks. Looks like it was probably a giraffe that was blocking the road because I can see one of them walking along the side of the road way down there. These are Maasai giraffe, by the way, one of the 4 giraffe species that live in the world. Usually getting around 18 feet tall, although some adult males do even make it up to 20 feet tall. Now, the savanna is one of the most fragile and diverse ecosystems on Earth, and it's shaped by the animals that live within it. So the elephants down here will knock down trees in order to eat from them. The giraffes will trim the trees. Antelope and zebra will trim the grasses, and everybody does their part by fertilizing everything. I'm listening into my radio, trying to see what's going on here. Sometimes if there was an animal blocking the road, we'll be a little bit congested while we're getting the trucks moving once more. I do actually also see some zebra way out there on our left-hand side. Just next to that truck way out in the distance, those are Hartman's mountain zebra. Actually, I think I do see some young ones in the herd. Yeah, I do see a young one that's standing probably over by their mom, and actually a second one that's walking behind that giraffe down there. We'll get a closer look as we keep on moving. Also on the edge of the forest over here to our right, I see some wildebeest just going into the forest there. Looks like some of them are running around back there in the trees. Wildebeest are some of the most populous animals in Africa. In fact, every year at the end of the wet season, 1.5 million of them will make their 1,800-mile great migration in search of greener pastures. Considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the natural world, the great wildebeest migration is one of the largest movements of any animal on the planet. Sometimes there are so many animals moving all at once, the dust clouds they all kick up with their hooves are so big they can even be seen from space. Since it looks like we might be having an extra long safari today, folks, if any of you do have any questions for me at all about any of these animals that we are hoping to see, any that we do actually see, feel free to ask. I do have a degree in zookeeping and used to be a keeper, so talking about these guys is one of my very favorite things in the whole wide world. Looks like the whole herd of giraffe is actually moving out there to our right. So massive it almost looks like they're moving in slow motion. If you take a look at the top of their head from here, you might notice those 2 knobs on top. A lot of people assume that those are horns, but they are not horns in fact. Instead, they are extensions of their skull. Once we get a little bit closer, you'll be able to see that they are just as covered in fur as the rest of their head. They're called ossicones. The only animals in the world that have ossicones are giraffe and their relative, the okapi. During the breeding season, the adult males will use those structures to fight for dominance with one another. It's a pretty spectacular sight, by the way. I do recommend looking up videos of it later on YouTube if you remember. The males will stand shoulder to shoulder with their opponent and swing their necks around as hard as they can, knocking each other with those ossicones. A whole bunch of black vultures hanging out over here to our left. Like I was saying earlier, although humans tend to not like vultures very much, they really don't deserve their bad reputation, since they are a cleanup crew. They are constantly eating things that would otherwise be spreading disease in their environment. Thankfully, though, these vultures have such strong stomach acids, they're actually able to digest those diseases, remove them from their environment entirely, keeping everybody else much healthier in the long run. Oh, there's a giraffe over here to our right. You can see a little bit closer. See those ossicones on the top of their head all covered in fur? And actually, I do see a couple of some of the larger animals here on the savanna up ahead of us. Oh, and actually there's the bull over here to our right. These are Ankole cattle. Got some of the largest horns on the planet, sometimes as wide as 6 feet from tip to tip. The Ankole itself is an ancient African domestic breed, the only domestic that lives here on the reserve. Actually, the two other species you can see with this Ankole to our right, the chocolate colored ones, those are some sable antelope, and the lighter ones, those are Patterson's eland. Looks like there's an Ankole who's thinking about crossing the road in front of us here now. So as I was saying about those horns, although they are a domestic breed, the size of their horns is actually a naturally occurring trait. Helps the cow to stay nice and cool, because on hot days they'll pump more blood into their horns. While the blood's away from the body, it cools down by a few degrees, and then as it circulates, it cools the rest of the animal. More giraffe over here to our left. You can see one's going to town on one of those bushes in the forest there. Also passing some termite mounds here. Some of the most well-constructed things by any, or structures by any insect. They're actually able to stand for up to 300 years, even after the termites inside them are no more. Couple of giraffe having a snack here on our right. You might catch a glimpse of their 18-inch long tongue. That is what giraffes will use to wrap around branches to take the leaves off. Their tongue is what's called prehensile, which means finger-like. Prehensile is the same word used to describe the tails of some monkeys, as well as the trunk of the elephant. A bull Ankole is crossing the road in front of us now. You can see how much wider his horns are compared to the ladies of the herd. Those horns are pretty heavy, but not quite as heavy as you might expect, because they do actually have a honeycomb structure inside, so they are relatively lightweight. Back to that giraffe's tongue, by the way. You might have noticed that it is purple in color. Ooh. Oh, wow. Actually never heard him vocalize before. Chatty today. That was cool. So the giraffe's tongue is purple in color, which is actually an adaptation to help prevent it from becoming sunburned. Since their tongue spends so much time out of their mouth, they've had to adapt to have more melanin present in the skin of that tongue, basically to act as a natural sunblock. Passing through the zebra herd. Oh goodness, so many animals crossing the road this morning. Looks like one of them might be considering taking a dust bath here to our left. Lots of different animals like to roll around in the sand because the dust that gets in their fur absorbs any excess oils and knocks off any parasites that might be in their fur as well. Now we can see the two moms and the two baby zebra here to our right. You can see which one is a little bit younger, that one that has a little bit more of a fuzzy and brown colored coat that just walked up behind that larger, or that slightly older one. When zebras are newborns, they have a very fluffy and brown tinged coat. Then eventually as they age, they get that bright white-black contrast. For a long time, science thought the zebra's stripes were an adaptation to help confuse predators. But what science has recently learned is that those stripes actually more likely evolved as a means of preventing biting flies from landing on the zebra. Science isn't even really sure how it works yet. It's just clear that it does. It seems something with that contrast sort of messes with the flies landing gear. A number of studies going on right now at California UC Davis trying to figure out just how it works. The flies will apparently try to land on the zebra and instead bonk their head on them and then have to turn around and go find another animal to land on. So it is pretty effective, however it does work. This large broken tree here on our right, by the way, that is a pretty sure sign that there might be elephants somewhere nearby. We are going to keep our eyes peeled. Over to our left, I do see some monkeys here. Some mandrills, looks like some females and young ones perhaps. The male is the largest monkey in the world, getting up to about 100 pounds. On our right, folks, there is actually a massive African bull elephant over here. These guys are sometimes called eating machines, able to consume for about 75% of the time they're awake every day. Even able to eat 300 pounds of food in one day, in fact. You might see him a little bit closer here on our right since there's a closed road. There he is. Now, a lot of the food that these elephants eat does go partially undigested, which means all sorts of different seeds and nuts and things make their way through. So they are some of the most important seed dispersers in their ecosystem, which is why they are called, a term we use in conservation, which is a keystone species. That refers to a species that has a massive impact on the overall health and biodiversity of their ecosystem. We can see them one more time there on our right, actually. Although elephants are very important, of course, things can get pretty complicated when they cross paths with the humans that live around them. That's because most families in this part of the world rely on farming in order to put food on the table. Sometimes if a herd of elephants is just wandering along looking for a snack, unfortunately in just one night, an elephant herd can eat a human family's entire livelihood. As you can imagine, that causes quite a bit of tension between the people and animals that live here, which is what's called human-wildlife conflict. I do actually see a female elephant over here to our left, folks. So Disney has done a lot of research to figure out ways we might be able to help try to reduce the amount of human-wildlife conflict around the world. Something we've helped to create to do just that. Looks like this is actually an entire herd. So something we've helped to create to do just that is called the Elephants and Bees Project. Elephants, of course, are known for their extremely tough skin, but the skin around their eyes, mouth, and trunk is actually pretty sensitive. And the bees that live near elephants are very well aware of that fact. If they at all feel an elephant might be about to trample their hive, they will quickly defend that hive by any means necessary. Elephants are aware of that as well, so if they hear bees buzzing nearby, even have a specific rumble they'll make to signal to the rest of their herd that says, "Hey everybody, there are bees here. Time for us to leave." This elephant over here looks like they're playing in the mud to our left. Oh, taking a little mud bath there. Great way for them to cool off, throwing that mud onto themselves. Just having a little splish splash. So the Elephants and Bees Project is where we help farmers to build fences around their property that are actually made out of bee hives. That has been a great peaceful way to keep these giants at bay. While at the same time, the farmer will be able to harvest and sell that excess honey as an additional source of income. So it is a great win-win. It looks like in this watering hole, a group of greater flamingos have taken up residence. They get their name because they are the largest species of flamingo in the world. Also the most lightly colored. Sometimes you'll see these birds tippy-tap their feet on the bottom of the pond to stir up the sediment down there that their prey lives in. Then they'll stick their highly specialized beaks under the water and vibrate it open and closed, using it as a filter feeder, filtering out their microscopic prey from the water column. They mostly eat itty-bitty little shrimp and other microorganisms, both of which eat an algae. That algae has the pigment beta-carotene in it, which is the only source of the flamingo's pink color. I do see one more elephant over to our left there. Just a glimpse of them. Oh, actually, ahead of us there are 3 female ostriches walking straight toward us over here, strutting their stuff to our left. The largest birds in the world. We can tell that these are 3 females because of their gray-colored feathers. Males actually have stark black and bright white feathers and are quite a bit taller than the ladies as well. Males will even get up to about 9 feet tall. These are very fast birds, by the way. Fastest animal on 2 legs, in fact, running up to 40 miles an hour and covering 10 feet in a single stride. And we've got one in the road up ahead of us here. Looks like she might be passing us really close over here on our left. Take a close look at those feet, by the way. You'll notice there's only 2 toes per foot. That's how they stay so light on their feet. Also got the largest eyeballs of any land animal, about the size of a billiard ball, even bigger than an elephant's eye. I do see a cheetah to our left, everybody. Really clear view of them there. We are, oh, actually there's 2 of them. Another one walking along. Very lucky to see these guys. They are really well camouflaged and almost impossible to see if they do not want to be seen. Fastest land animals on the planet. They can actually run about 70 miles an hour. I actually even see another one up here. And, oh my goodness, there's another one next to it. Wow. Lots of cheetahs today. Over to our left now. These guys will use their long, fluffy tails as a rudder while they run. And also use their claws to their advantage, basically using those claws like soccer cleats, letting them dig into the earth as they go, giving themselves the most amount of traction possible for that explosive burst of speed. The cheetah did have to trade their speed for strength though, so every now and then when they do have a successful hunt, predators who are bigger and stronger than them might actually come and take the cheetah's meal from them for themselves. Animals like lions or hyenas. A number of different predators know they can beat cheetahs in a fight if it comes down to it. Looks like a herd of white rhinoceroses over here on our right, folks. These are the rhinos I was talking about earlier with those very wide, square lips. They can use them like a lawnmower, basically. Along with their longer skull shape, so they're able to easily reach that grass growing down on the ground. And I think I do see some lions to our left. Just the very tops of their head over here. You can see the lioness pretty clearly. Lucky to see them awake this time of day. These guys are mostly nocturnal, sleeping about 18 to 20 hours every day. Once the sun starts to go down, that's usually when they'll start hunting. And most of that hunting will be done by the females of the pride, whereas the males will guard the pride and pride lands themselves. Get another view of the white rhinoceros herd up ahead of us here. These are by far the most social species of rhino on the planet. Most other rhinos are strictly solitary, but these guys really like to have a herd around them. That smaller one closest to us is actually a calf. Just about 2.5, maybe 3 years old nowadays, starting to catch up to the rest of the herd in weight. They are also the largest rhino in the world, getting up to about 5,000 pounds. And by the way, the ostriches we saw back there, I do see one of their nests to our right, on the ground there just at the edge of the path towards the base of that tree. Those are the largest eggs in the world. One egg is about the size of 24 chicken eggs, just about 2 whole pounds. And we are just starting to enter the outskirts of our village, Harambe, everybody. Before we go, though, we're going to be passing through the farm of a family who's working really hard to live in harmony with the forest around them. This family is doing that in a number of ways. One by collecting rainwater to make sure it's put to good use. They're also breeding Nigerian dwarf goats for their milk, since they take up a lot less room than cattle, and they can eat just about anything, so they also take up less resources all the way out here in the forest. You can see some of these cuties on the front porch now. Looks like this family is also in the process of building one of those elephant bee fences to help protect their crops. That is that hanging yellow box out front with the metal on top. Now, although nowadays, unfortunately, most of us can't live on farms anymore, remember that there are still countless ways that we too can have a profound and hopefully a positive impact on our local environment and the world at large. Personally, one of my favorite ways that I've found I've been able to have an impact I've seen with my own eyes is by making sure I fill my yard only with species of plants that are actually native to my ecosystem. I do that to support my local pollinators, the ecosystem around me, and to help solve the biodiversity crisis that us humans are unfortunately putting the planet through right now. But the good news is that we can all do our part to turn that around. By planting natives in our respective regions around the world, eventually we'll form a network that is indeed capable of restoring habitat as well as saving species. If you guys would like to learn more about planting native, I highly recommend checking out the Instagram account Homegrown National Park. That is HOMEGROWN National Park. That is a fantastic resource. And by the way, everybody, even if you live in an apartment with a balcony, you can also do your part to help out your local pollinators as well. If you live in North America, you can do something as simple as planting a species of milkweed in a pot on your balcony to help out the vulnerable monarch butterfly on their great migration. Now, once again, everybody, my name is Ella. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and it's been my absolute pleasure to show you guys around the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. Here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye because that is far too sad and final, so instead we say Kwaharini, which means to go well. So Kwaharini, my friends, go well, go wild, go plant native, and everybody on the right-hand side, watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs. This door's going to open next to you. Kwaharini, my friends, have such a great day out there, folks. My pleasure, guys. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what's on the way out here. There's a little place. It's got a, see on the roof right there? And we have a card here. It says Harambe Wildlife. And there's a water tank. And there's the warden post. No, what's that?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry? Is he out? I don't think there's any gorillas in school on this side. I think there's gorillas in fall, as you can see. All right.
That was a very, very nice safari, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're gonna go up here before we go to Gorilla Falls. We're gonna go eat. So I'll be back. We're gonna eat right quick and we'll be right back.